Just talk about the journey you've been on and how it has reached this point now where you're on the garden floor hearing MVP chants and you're going to the All-Star game.
I mean,
July 12th, 2022. A day that marked a turning point in the New York Knicks' modern history, and a day that a lot of Knicks fans look back upon with shame and dismay. We had just finished 11th in the Eastern Conference a year after making the playoffs, and while we had Julius Randle secured on the team, based on the previous year's playoffs and his overall play, it was clear that we needed someone else to help Julius. And it wasn't clear where we'd get that help from, because the 2022 free agency class was filled with a bunch of guys who were the NBA equivalent of a YBN Namir feature.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Going into that offseason, it was apparent that the Knicks' main goal would be to secure Dallas Mavericks point guard Jalen Brunson. In fact, it was so apparent that the league decided to dock us of a draft pick this year for tampering because we were so forward in our push for Brunson. Brunson averaged 16.3 points and 4.8 assists on 50% shooting from the field and 37% shooting from three. And while these numbers weren't necessarily bad, they weren't the numbers that we'd expect from a guy who was expected to put us over the hump. And while he had proven himself to be a playoff riser with the Mavericks, especially in their series against the Jazz where he teed up and averaged 27.8 points, nobody seriously thought that he would be the missing piece for the Knicks. And that's what made our next move all the more shocking. On July 12th, not only did we go out and sign Jalen Brunson, we went out and gave him a 4-year, $104 million contract. I don't think that I can underscore or even adequately describe the amount of backlash and clowning that we received for giving $26 million a year to an undersized point guard who many viewed as simply being a number 2 to Luka Doncic. Luckily for me, I don't have to describe the backlash, because these people did it for me. So I present to you a brief compilation of some of the most horribly aged takes from our signing of Jalen Brunson.
It's a straight D+. It really is. Brunson's just not a game changer.
Look, I mean, Jalen Brunson is a nice player. Hope the brother comes, hope he gets paid. But the Knicks are acting like he's KD.
But, I mean, do we think Brunson is a guy that is going to bring them to a second-round playoff series?
You sure about that?
He's a nice player, Jalen Brunson. Is he a difference maker? No.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm saying. And Jalen Brunson isn't the answer.
You sure about that?
July 12th was such an important day for the Knicks for a multitude of reasons, because we also signed another Knick who's grown to embody the spirit of the city in Isaiah Hartenstein. And, more importantly, we got the best criminal I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes to stop robbing us, as Joakim Noah was finally off of our books for the first time since 2016-17. But immediately after we signed Brunson, amidst all the chatter and laughter that was coming from people around the association and from fans of the team, Brunson did something that immediately told me this guy was special. He went down to Pro City. Now, let me explain something to non-New York residents and those who aren't locked in or abreast of the Pro-Am streetball culture in the city. New York has a history of players coming out to our Pro-Ams and streetball leagues, and while most people have gone to Rucker Park in the past, its popularity has slowly dwindled out and been replaced by Dyckman Park. Dyckman is an outdoor league, and it's not for the weak. You got trap music, alcohol, physicality, and a bunch of other factors that make it easy to fold in that environment. And not a lot of league guys go out there anymore. While Jalen didn't go here, he went to a similarly competitive indoor Pro-Am league by the name of Pro City, which, as the name implies, has a lot of pros and college players come through and play some really high-level basketball over there. About a month after signing with us, Jalen Brunson, along with Julius Randle and Obi Toppin, all got together and decided to go out to Pro City and hoop in the playoffs, where Brunson dropped 45 points. Now, I'm gonna be honest. Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and Obi Toppin ended up losing that game. And there's no defense for that. They're whack. And for many people, that served as a preview of things to come this upcoming season. Specifically on Reddit, there were a lot of comments clowning the Knicks for losing to Milkmen, and saying that they were in mid-season form, and just overall doing a lot of unnecessary hating that reflected a genuine lack of belief in the Knicks, and their most recent off-season acquisition. But I never fell into the hate. See, anyone who truly knows New York hoops, or basketball in general, immediately understood what was happening the moment Jalen Brunson stepped on that court in Hostos Community College. He was bringing back the feeling. that team chemistry building, the incentive to go out and hoop in the Pro-Am, to be amongst the people, to embrace the city and its street ball culture, that was the moment that me and anyone else who had even the slightest bit of basketball knowledge knew. This guy was going to be special. So when the 22-23 season rolled around, and Jalen Brunson didn't immediately get off to a hot start with the numbers that you would expect from a $100 million player, I wasn't worried, because I knew that it was just a matter of time before he arrived. And so, when the new year finally rolled around, and we entered 2023, and Jalen Brunson began absolutely killing the league, only those who hadn't paid attention and were strictly there to hate were surprised. From January 2nd to the end of the 2023 regular season, Jalen Brunson averaged 27.8 points per game on 51.7% shooting from the field and 45.6% shooting from three. And Brunson's strong finish to the regular season came amidst the Julius Randle injury, which would hamper him, and also lasted through stretches with RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, along with Brunson dealing with his own nagging foot injuries that hampered him. Unfortunately, this is a story that will repeat itself a year later. But despite all of these obstacles, Brunson continued to perform and elevate the Knicks as a team. And he ultimately did something that the Knicks hadn't done in literally a decade: let us out of the first round. And as someone who wasn't super in tune with New York sports in 2012-13, I can say that the magic was felt throughout the city. And this was different from our run in 2021, where we all collectively united against Trae Young. No, we were united rooting for a team that was actually good for once. And even after we lost to the Heat in the second round with Jalen Brunson playing his heart out, I knew that the 23-24 season would be something magical. But even I didn't know that he'd be this good. Jalen Brunson's 2023-24 season launched him not only into the pantheon of all-time Knick point guards, but into the pantheon of all-time Knicks period. And he constantly electrified the Garden and Knick fans with high-scoring performance after high-scoring performance. And Brunson was not only performing at a high level, but the team was winning. A lot. And he did this in the face of a multitude of injuries that included our starting center going down, our recent groundbreaking trade acquisition being repeatedly sidelined due to nagging issues with his elbow, and our second best player and scorer ultimately being ruled out for the season after injuring his shoulder. And this doesn't even begin to describe the injury nightmare that was the playoffs, where literally our entire team was lost to injuries. Brunson's resilience and dog mentality endeared him to New Yorkers in a way that I saw once he played at Pro City, and it caused me to make a mental connection between him and another undersized, scrappy guard who endeared himself to a city, Allen Iverson. Now I understand, playstyle for playstyle, there are 1,000 videos on YouTube comparing these two, and while they're not exactly the same, they have similarities. Brunson utilizes the post a bit more than AI, however they're both high usage guards who can score the ball and are undersized for the NBA. However, Allen Iverson utilized his inhuman quickness and crossover in order to dart past defenders and get to the rim where he had more bounce and athleticism than most unfortunate defenders would have expected. Jalen Brunson has nearly none of these qualities, and while he is quick and fast compared to the average human, for the NBA, athletically he doesn't wow you. And more than that, the man can barely jump over a phone book. So with all of these differences highlighted, it begs the question, what is this guy yapping about comparing Jalen Brunson to Allen Iverson? Well, when I compare Brunson and Iverson, I'm not simply comparing their playstyles, but I'm comparing what they each meant to their respective city and team. I understand that Iverson's impact expanded far beyond the city of Philadelphia and into the cultural mainstream, but within the city of Philly, Iverson represented everything that made Philadelphia, Philadelphia. He was tough, undersized, and gritty, notoriously playing through any and every injury that he could. And no matter how many times you knocked Iverson down, he always got back up and came back at you on the other end even harder, because that's what the city of Philly embodied. And the city loved him for it. And while the MVP and finals appearances certainly played a role in Iverson receiving a comically small statue in Philly this year, the reason he got the statue was because the heart that he had resonated with the city on a deeper level. And I bring all of this up because this seems to be the historical moment that we're living in right now with Jalen Brunson. He's becoming a physical embodiment for everything that makes New York and New Yorkers special. He isn't the fastest or the quickest, and he doesn't jump the highest or shoot the ball from half court, and he certainly isn't a 7'3" demigod. But he's able to not only survive, but thrive in the NBA by utilizing his wits and toughness in order to manufacture shots for himself that lead to success for his team. And no matter how many times he gets clobbered and how many calls the referees miss intentionally or unintentionally, he always gets back up, doesn't complain, and comes back even harder. because that's the way New Yorkers operate. And this all shined in the playoffs, where he averaged 33 points and led us through all of the injuries, and showed up every day and gave his best even when he wasn't at 100%. So even though the season didn't end exactly how we wanted it to, and we definitely could have and should have gone farther, Jalen Brunson and the entire Knicks team deserve all the praise in the world, because they truly embodied the grit and passion that a New York team should. So to Jalen Brunson and the entire Knicks team, on behalf of every New Yorker and everyone who doubted you when you signed with us, I'd like to issue an apology. And I can't think of a more fitting superstar for a city like New York. So that's going to do it for this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. See you in the next one.